On the surface, Oliver was just an ordinary boy living in an ordinary house on an ordinary street. But hidden within the quiet corners of his world was a secret, a friendship so pure and unexpected that no one else knew about it. It wasn't with a classmate nor a neighbor. It wasn't even with another human. It was with a small, bright-eyed squirrel named Nutty. What started as a simple exchange of peanuts and curious glances soon became an unbreakable bond. While the world bustled on without noticing, Oliver and Nutty built a friendship in stolen moments, moments of whispered conversations, shared adventures, and quiet companionship. But as the seasons changed, so did their world, and soon Oliver would have to face the hardest part of any friendship, the moment when you have to let go. This is the story of a boy and a squirrel, a tale of trust, love, and the kind of friendship that lasts forever, even when the world isn't watching. In a quiet neighborhood where the trees swayed gently with the wind, there lived a little boy named Oliver. He was 6 years old, curious and full of wonder, but he often felt lonely. His parents worked long hours, and his older sister was too busy with her friends. One autumn afternoon, as Oliver sat alone on the porch, he noticed a small squirrel staring at him from the fence. It had bright, beady eyes and a bushy tail that twitched as if it were saying hello. The squirrel was nibbling on an acorn, but it didn't run away when Oliver moved closer. Oliver smiled. "Hi there," he whispered. The squirrel tilted its head as if understanding him. Oliver ran inside, grabbed a handful of peanuts from the kitchen and carefully placed them on the porch. The little creature hesitated at first, then scurried closer, sniffed the offering and began eating. From that day on, the squirrel became Oliver's secret friend. He named it Nutty. Every afternoon when the house was empty, Oliver would sit outside, waiting for Nutty to appear. They shared snacks, Oliver's biscuits, Nutty's acorns. He even built a tiny wooden house for Nutty with his father's leftover craft supplies. As the days passed, Oliver found himself talking to Nutty about everything, his dreams, his fears, and the stories he imagined. Nutty would listen, twitching its tail, sometimes hopping onto Oliver's knee as if comforting him. One rainy evening, Oliver saw Nutty waiting outside his window, soaked and shivering. His heart ached. Without hesitation, he opened the window just enough for the squirrel to slip inside. Nutty scurried in and shook off the rain. Oliver made a little nest with an old sweater in his toy box and let Nutty rest there for the night. The next morning, Nutty was gone, leaving behind only a single acorn on Oliver's pillow. Oliver understood it was a thank you gift. Seasons passed and Nutty still visited every day. Their bond remained unbreakable, a friendship woven in the quiet moments when no one else was around. Oliver no longer felt lonely because he knew he had a friend who would always return, his little secret, his Nutty. And that was enough. As the years passed, Oliver and Nutty's bond grew stronger. Each day after school, Oliver would rush home, tossing his backpack onto the floor before running outside to their usual meeting spot. Nutty was always there, waiting on the fence, his tiny paws eager to grab the peanuts Oliver brought. One winter, when the snow piled high and the trees stood bare, Oliver noticed Nutty wasn't coming as often. He worried. He left extra food near the fence, checking every morning, hoping to see his little friend's bushy tail darting through the frost-covered branches. Then one evening, as Oliver sat by the window, he heard a faint scratching sound. His heart leaped. He hurried outside and found Nutty struggling in the cold, his fur wet from the snow. Without hesitation, Oliver scooped him up and tucked him inside his warm coat. "Come inside, Nutty," he whispered. This time, Oliver didn't just let Nutty stay for a night. He made a cozy space for him in his room. Every night, Nutty curled up in a soft nest Oliver had made inside a shoebox lined with cotton. They spent the winter together, sharing quiet moments, warm blankets, and even little adventures inside the house when no one was watching. But as spring arrived, Nutty grew restless. He would perch on the windowsill, staring longingly at the blooming trees. Oliver knew what it meant. One morning, with the sun shining brightly, Oliver carried Nutty to the yard. He placed him on the fence where they had first met. "You can go now, Nutty," Oliver said. Though his heart ached at the thought of letting go, Nutty hesitated. Then, as if understanding Oliver's sadness, he nuzzled against the boy's hand before leaping onto the nearest tree. Oliver watched as his friend climbed higher and higher until he disappeared among the green leaves.
But as the seasons changed, so did their world. And soon, Oliver would have to face the hardest part of any friendship, the moment when you have to let go. A tale of trust, love, and the kind of friendship that lasts forever, even when the world isn't watching. As the years passed, Oliver grew taller, his world expanding beyond the quiet backyard where he had once spent countless afternoons with Nutty. Schoolwork became harder, new friendships were made, and his days filled with activities that left little time for quiet moments by the fence. But no matter how busy life became, Oliver never forgot his tiny friend. Nutty still visited, though less frequently. On some evenings, Oliver would spot the familiar flick of a bushy tail as Nutty scurried across the trees, watching from afar. It was as if Nutty understood Oliver was growing up, but their bond remained. One afternoon, as Oliver sat on the porch after a long day at school, he felt a familiar presence nearby. He turned and saw Nutty sitting on the fence, just like old times. But this time, Nutty wasn't alone. Behind him, a smaller squirrel peeked out cautiously, its tiny eyes full of curiosity. Oliver's heart swelled. "You brought a friend?" he whispered, placing a few peanuts on the wooden railing. Nutty, as if reassuring his little companion, grabbed a peanut and nudged it toward the younger squirrel. A soft laugh escaped Oliver's lips. This wasn't just a reunion, it was a sign. Nutty had moved on, had found a family of his own, yet he had returned to share this moment with the boy who had once been his only friend. Oliver watched as the two squirrels nibbled on their treats before darting back into the trees. He smiled to himself, knowing that while life kept changing, some friendships, no matter how small or unexpected, would always leave a lasting mark. And somewhere in the quiet rustling of the leaves, he was sure he could hear Nutty's way of saying goodbye, not as an ending, but as a reminder that true friendship never fades. Years later, when Oliver was no longer a little boy but a young man preparing to leave for college, he found himself standing by the old wooden fence once more. The house, the yard, and the towering trees had all remained the same, but he had grown just as Nutty had. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a single peanut, placing it gently on the railing, just as he had done so many years ago. For a moment, the world was still. Then, as if summoned by memory itself, a familiar rustling came from the branches above. Oliver looked up and saw a squirrel older, wiser, but unmistakably Nutty, watching him with the same bright eyes from their first meeting. And just beyond him, younger squirrels played among the leaves, carrying forward the life that Nutty had built. Oliver smiled, feeling a deep warmth in his heart. He had made new friends, faced new adventures, and was stepping into a new chapter of life, but the lessons he had learned from Nutty, kindness, patience, and the beauty of quiet companionship, would always stay with him. As he turned to leave, a gentle breeze rustled the trees, as if whispering a farewell. Oliver knew then that true friendship wasn't measured by time or distance, it was felt in the moments that shaped us, in the memories that never faded, and in the quiet assurance that, no matter where life took him, a part of his childhood would always remain, nestled among the branches of the old backyard trees.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and comment below. And if you want to see more engaging content, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.